Good morning, awesome artists. This week we're going to be doing a lesson inspired by the artist Henri Matisse. This particular story is called Drawing with Scissors, and it's from the viewpoint of a student, a girl who's probably about 9 or so years old. And she is doing a report. She had to choose an artist, and she chose Henri Matisse. So this is from her viewpoint, again, called Drawing with Scissors. My artist, Henri Matisse, was born on New Year's Eve. So was I. That's why I chose him for my report. It is weird to have your birthday on December 31st. I wonder if Henri Matisse got sick of people saying Happy New Year instead of Happy Birthday. I do. My grandfather sent me this card on my birthday. The picture is by Henri Matisse. I like the colors. They're so bright. Here's Henri and his mom. Henri was born in 1869. That's 125 years before me. He grew up in a small town in France. His parents ran a general store. His father wanted Henri to become a lawyer. Henri worked in a law office for a while, but he was bored. He drew flowers on the law papers. Then, when he was 20, Henri got very sick. He had to stay in bed for a long time. His mother gave him a set of paints to pass the time. That was it for Henri. From then on, he knew he wanted to be a painter. His father said, "You'll starve." But when he got better, Henri went to Paris anyway to become an artist. This is one of the first paintings Henri did. Looks very realistic, doesn't it? This is one of his last pictures. Very different. Henri painted this picture in 1890 when he was 20. You can tell exactly what everything is. The colors are dark, practically all browns and greens. This is the way art students were taught to paint. Henri made this picture in 1953 when he was 83. It is made from paper cutouts. I had no idea what it was supposed to be until I saw the title. Try to guess what it is. I wrote the answer upside down at the bottom of the page. Actually, you guys can tell by this. The colors are so bright. Henri's art sure changed a lot from when he was a young artist. Henri went to art school in Paris. He didn't like the teachers at his first school, so he went to a different art school. There, he had a great teacher who told him to try using his imagination more. Henri began to study what artists of the day, such as Claude Monet and Paul Cézanne, were doing. They were painting in a new way. They were using brighter colors and bigger brushstrokes. Henri's painting started to change. He did this painting in 1896 when he was 26. It looks more like the Cézanne painting. It is a still life painting. That means it's a picture of things like fruit and flowers instead of being a picture of people or a landscape. Henri was starting to paint with loose brush strokes and use brighter colors. Henri became friends with two young artists named André Derain and Maurice de Vlaminck. He and his friends started painting with weird colors. They didn't care about making things look real. Henri said that he wanted to make colors sing without paying attention to rules and regulations. In 1905, they had an art show together. People were shocked. They said that the pictures looked like wild beasts had painted them. Henri and his friends didn't mind. They started to call themselves the Fauves. That's French for wild beasts. This painting is Henri's wife, Amélie. She is wearing a hat, but to me it looks like a heavy bowl of fruit is sitting on her head. The colors are strange. Her face is yellow and blue-green. Her neck is orange. Henri only painted like a fauve for a few years. Then he decided he didn't like this style anymore. I read that Henri sold very few paintings when he first became an artist. There wasn't always enough food for the family. For a while, the Matisses had to move back in with Henri's parents. I wonder if his dad said, "I told you so." But then some people started to buy Henri's paintings. By 1911, when he painted this picture, Henri was doing a lot better. This is a painting of his family. I like how Henri put so many different patterns in his pictures. The patterns look busy, but his family looks quiet and peaceful. I found many dozens of zillions of big patterns, little patterns, and even flowers. Somehow it all goes together. Here is me and my sister. Our patterns clash. Henri's art was the most important thing to him, even more important than his family. At dinner, Mrs. Matisse would ask the children to be quiet because their father was thinking about his latest painting. Henri also had a hard time sleeping because he worried so much about his art. He would wake up Amélie in the middle of the night and make her go for a long walk. I think Amélie was a very patient wife. By the time he was 40, Henri was famous. There were art shows featuring his work. People bought lots of his paintings. His family moved into a nice house outside Paris. Henri also liked to travel. He especially liked hot, sunny places by the sea. Henri loved to paint the colors of the water and the flowers and trees. He was interested in how sunlight looked different in different countries. He painted this picture in Saint-Tropez in the south of France by the sea. Henri first went to North Africa in 1905. In 1912 and 1913, Henri took 2 long trips to Morocco. He loved it. Staying in Africa changed how he painted. His pictures look calm and happy. The colors look like they're full of light. Look right below Zora's hands. Do you see a red blob and a blue blob? I think that's where he painted her hands the first time. This is a painting of a young girl named Zora. She is Moroccan. You can tell from her clothes. I read that Henri was hardly ever satisfied with what he did the first time around. He was always making changes and painting over things. I think that's what he did with Zora's hands. I think all the shades of blue in this picture are beautiful. I counted 5 different blues. I bet if I saw the real painting, there would be even more. Henri painted lots of pictures with windows in them. You feel as if you're inside the room, looking at what's outside. I drew this picture looking out my bedroom window. That's my friend Natalie, waving. She lives across the street. As Henri got famous, people asked him to do pictures, especially for them. This is called a commission. A rich businessman named Serge Schuken loved Henri's art. He bought lots of Henri's paintings. In 1910, Mr. Schuken asked Henri to do a big painting for his mansion. He wanted a picture of dancers. This is the painting that Henri did. Mr. Schuken wasn't so sure that he wanted naked dancers in his front hall. Maybe he had wanted ballerinas in tutus, but he took the painting anyway. This picture of dancers was done 20 years after the other painting of dancers. Henri was 60. The painting is a strange shape because it was supposed to fit in the top of a wall with curved arches that was in an art gallery near Philadelphia. Henri made it look like some of the dancers are leaping right out of the painting. Before he started to paint, Henri cut out paper shapes of the dancers to figure out how he wanted them arranged. He moved the cutout pieces around until everything looked just right for him. After he finished the painting, Henri found out that someone had sent him the wrong measurements. Henri's picture was too small. He had to start all over again. The whole thing took 3 years. Henri was exhausted. It was bad for his health and bad for his family. Henri and Amélie no longer lived together. As he got older, Henri was often sick. He now lived in southern France by the sea, where the weather was mild and sunny. In 1941, Henri had to have a big operation. He had cancer. He was 71 and nearly died. Henri had to stay in bed for a long time, but he felt very lucky to be alive. He said, "Every day that dawns is a gift to me." Henri had trouble painting because he couldn't stand up for long periods of time. So he cut out paper shapes, lots and lots and lots of them. He called it drawing with scissors. Making cutouts. Here is how Henri made his cutouts. First, Henri's assistants painted sheets of paper in all the colors Henri liked. Then, Henri cut out shapes. Henri had his assistants pin the cutouts on the walls of his studio. This way, he could see how they looked together. Henri would keep cutting out more shapes and keep changing the arrangement until finally he was satisfied with how everything looked. The last step was to paste the cutouts down on paper. I have a leaf collection. I love their shapes and colors. I made some cutout leaves too. Cutting is hard work. Your hands get tired. I read that Henri played the violin for 2 hours every day. He loved music, but he also did it to give his hands a workout. Henri's picture looks simple, but now I know it wasn't. Like everything Henri did, it took lots of work. This is my favorite of Henri's cutouts. When he was 73, Henri made 20 cutout pictures for a book that he wrote called Jazz. The picture that my grandpa sent me on my birthday was in the book. I saw a copy of the book at the library. The words are all in Henri's own handwriting. They're French. The book is not about jazz music at all. It's about Henri's feelings about being an artist. When he was 80 years old, Henri worked on something he had never done before. It wasn't a painting or a book or paper cutouts. It was a whole little church. It was going to be built in France, not far from where he lived. This is what the outside looks like. Henri decided what everything would look like. He designed the building. He made the designs for the stained glass windows. He did the drawings on the walls. He even designed the clothes for the priests. He did it because he was a good friend of one of the nuns. She had been his nurse when he was very sick. This was Henri's way of saying thank you. Henri was old and sick, but he kept working. His daughter said that Henri worked right up until the day he died. People say that some of his last cutout pictures are his greatest. Henri died on November 5th, 1954. He was almost 85 years old. He had been an artist for more than 60 years. He made paintings, sculptures, drawings, costumes for ballets, cutouts, books, and even stained glass windows. Henri was hardly ever happy with his art, but he hoped that it made other people feel happy. It does. Merci, Henri.